Robert Harrison stood on the balcony of his penthouse office, looking out at the city skyline that stretched endlessly before him. At 42, he owned one of the largest tech companies in the world. His name appeared on magazine covers, and people called him a genius. But none of that mattered to him as much as the little girl waiting for him at home. 8-year-old Lily was everything to Robert. After losing his wife in a car accident 3 years ago, she became his whole world. Every morning she would run into his home office with her bright smile and wild curly hair, asking him about his work and telling him about her dreams. She wanted to be a scientist when she grew up, just like the ones who worked in his company. Their house was huge, sitting on 5 acres of perfectly manicured gardens. Robert had bought it when Lily was born, imagining all the birthday parties and family gatherings they would have there. Now it felt too big, too quiet, except when Lily filled it with her laughter. The staff who worked at the house had become like family over the years. There was James, the gardener who taught Lily about flowers, Mrs. Chen, the cook who made Lily's favorite pancakes every Sunday. And then there was Rosa, the housekeeper who had been with them for 3 years. Rosa was different from the others. She was quiet, always working in the background, making sure everything was perfect without ever drawing attention to herself. She was in her early 30s with kind eyes and gentle hands. Robert barely noticed her most days, which he would later realize was a terrible mistake. Rosa had grown up in a small village in another country before coming to America. She sent most of her money back home to support her elderly parents and younger siblings. Every day she cleaned the house, did the laundry, and helped take care of Lily when Robert was working late, which happened more often than he liked to admit. What Robert didn't know was how much Rosa loved Lily. She had never had children of her own, and watching Lily grow up felt like a gift. When Lily scraped her knee, Rosa was there with bandages and gentle words. When Lily couldn't sleep because of nightmares, Rosa would sit by her bed and hum lullabies from her childhood. On that Tuesday evening in October, everything seemed normal. Robert had come home earlier than usual, wanting to have dinner with Lily. She had been excited all day because her science teacher had chosen her project for the school science fair. She couldn't stop talking about volcanoes and how they worked. Rosa served dinner in the dining room, the one they used for special occasions. Lily insisted they eat there because her science project was a big deal. Robert laughed and agreed, thinking how his little girl was growing up so fast. They were halfway through dinner when it happened. Lily was telling Robert about her friend Maya's birthday party coming up when she suddenly stopped talking. Her face went pale and she started gasping for air like she couldn't breathe. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I can't breathe." Robert jumped up from his chair, his heart racing. "Lily, what's wrong, sweetheart?" But Lily couldn't answer. She was struggling to get air into her lungs, her small hands clutching at her throat. Her lips were turning blue. Rosa heard the commotion from the kitchen and came running. When she saw Lily, she immediately called 911 while Robert held his daughter, not knowing what to do. "It's okay, baby. Daddy's here. Everything's going to be okay," he kept saying, but he could see that something was terribly wrong. The ambulance arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours to Robert. The paramedics worked quickly, putting an oxygen mask over Lily's face and loading her onto a stretcher. Robert rode with her to the hospital, holding her tiny hand and praying to anyone who might be listening. At the hospital, doctors rushed Lily into the emergency room while Robert paced in the waiting area. His mind was racing with questions. What had happened? She had been perfectly fine just an hour ago, laughing and talking about volcanoes. Rosa arrived at the hospital shortly after, still wearing her apron from dinner preparation. She sat quietly in the corner, watching Robert with worried eyes. She didn't say anything, but her presence somehow comforted him. Hours passed before Dr. Martinez finally came out to talk to Robert. The doctor's face was serious and Robert felt his stomach drop. "Mr. Harrison, we've run several tests on Lily. I'm afraid we found something concerning." Robert's world stopped spinning. "What do you mean? Is she going to be okay?" Dr. Martinez sat down beside him. "Lily has been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition. Her immune system is attacking her own lungs, making it difficult for her to breathe. This condition is extremely rare, affecting only 1 in a million children. But you can fix it, right? There has to be treatment, surgery, something?" Robert's voice was getting louder, drawing stares from other people in the waiting room. The doctor looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Harrison, this condition is very serious. Without treatment, children typically have only a few weeks to live. There is an experimental treatment available, but it's risky and requires a very specific type of blood donor." Robert felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. A few weeks? His Lily, who had been talking about volcanoes just hours ago, might only have a few weeks left. "I don't care about the risk. I don't care about the cost. Do whatever you need to do. I'll pay anything, hire anyone, fly in any specialist from anywhere in the world. Mr. Harrison, this isn't about money. The treatment requires a blood donor with very specific genetic markers. These markers are found in fewer than one person in 10 million. We'll need to search globally to find a compatible donor." Robert couldn't process what he was hearing. All his life, every problem had been solvable with enough money and determination. He had built a billion-dollar company by refusing to accept that anything was impossible. But now, faced with his daughter's life hanging in the balance, he felt completely powerless. "Can I see her?" he asked quietly. Dr. Martinez nodded and led him to Lily's room. She was sleeping, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. Tubes helped her breathe and wires monitored her heart. She looked so small in the hospital bed, so fragile. Robert sat beside her and took her hand. It felt cold. He squeezed it gently and she stirred, opening her eyes. "Daddy?" she whispered through the oxygen mask. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. Am I sick?" Robert's throat tightened. "Yes, baby. But the doctors are going to make you better. I promise." Lily nodded sleepily and closed her eyes again. Robert stayed there all night watching her breathe, counting each rise and fall of her chest. Rosa brought him coffee and a sandwich, which he didn't touch. She didn't say much, just sat in the chair by the window, keeping watch with him. By morning, Robert had already made dozens of phone calls. He contacted medical centers around the world, hired private investigators to search for potential donors, and offered a $1 million reward for anyone who could help save his daughter. But as the hours passed, one thing became clear. For the first time in his life, Robert Harrison's money and power might not be enough to save the person who mattered most to him. 3 days had passed since Lily's diagnosis, and Robert hadn't left the hospital. He'd converted a nearby hotel suite into a temporary office, but spent most of his time in his daughter's room, watching the machines that kept her alive. The best doctors in the world were now involved in Lily's case. Robert had flown in specialists from London, Tokyo, and Switzerland. Dr. Chen from Boston Children's Hospital was leading the team, working alongside Dr. Patel, who had developed the experimental treatment Lily needed. "The treatment itself is promising," Dr. Chen explained during their daily meeting. "We've seen success in adult patients with similar conditions. But Lily's case is complicated by her age and the severity of her condition." Robert rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept properly in days, surviving on coffee and determination. "What exactly do you need for this treatment to work?" Dr. Patel pulled up some charts on his tablet. "The treatment involves replacing Lily's damaged blood cells with healthy ones from a compatible donor. But the donor must have a very specific genetic profile. Think of it like a lock and key. Only one key in 10 million will fit." "You're talking about one person in 10 million people?" Robert's voice cracked slightly. "Exactly. We've been running searches through every blood bank and donor registry in North America. My colleagues in Europe and Asia are doing the same. We've tested over 50,000 people in the past 3 days." Robert stood up and walked to the window. The city looked the same as always, people going about their normal lives while his world was falling apart. "What about social media? I can put out a global call for donors. I'll pay for testing, travel, everything." "We're already doing that, Mr. Harrison. Your foundation has been incredible in spreading the word. We've had over 10,000 volunteers come forward for testing just today." But Robert could hear the doubt in the doctor's voice. They were looking for a needle in a haystack, and time was running out. Back in Lily's room, she was awake and trying to color in a book Rosa had brought her. Her breathing was more labored now, and she tired easily, but she still smiled when Robert walked in. "Daddy, look." She held up a picture of a rainbow she'd been coloring. "Rosa taught me that rainbows come after storms. She said that means good things come after bad things." Robert glanced at Rosa, who was quietly organizing Lily's get-well cards from classmates and neighbors. Over the past few days, Rosa had become a constant presence at the hospital. She arrived every morning at 6 and stayed until visiting hours ended. She helped feed Lily when she was too weak to hold a spoon, read her stories when Robert was in meetings with doctors, and somehow always knew exactly what Lily needed. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Robert said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Rosa's right about rainbows. Will I get better soon? I miss my bed at home, and I miss James's flowers in the garden." Robert's chest tightened. "The doctors are working very hard to make you better. We just need to be patient." "Okay, Daddy." Lily went back to coloring, but Robert could see she was getting tired again. Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway and motioned for Robert to step outside. Rosa noticed and quietly moved closer to Lily's bed, ready to take over if the little girl needed anything. "We need to talk," Dr. Chen said once they were in the hallway. Robert followed him to a quiet corner of the hospital floor. Other families were there too, all dealing with their own crises, but Robert felt completely alone despite being surrounded by people. "The search isn't going well," Dr. Chen said gently. "We've now tested over 100,000 people worldwide. None have been compatible. Then we test more people, 1 million people, 10 million if we have to. Mr. Harrison, even if we could test 10 million people, the odds of finding a match are still against us. And we don't have unlimited time. Lily's condition is progressing faster than we hoped." The words hit Robert like a physical blow. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to prepare for the possibility that we might not find a donor in time. Lily's lungs are deteriorating. Without the treatment, she has maybe 2 weeks left." 2 weeks. Robert leaned against the wall, feeling like he might collapse. All his money, all his connections, all his power, and he couldn't save his own daughter. There has to be something else. Another treatment, another option. "There is one thing," Dr. Chen said slowly. "It's experimental and extremely risky. We could try a partial lung transplant, but given Lily's condition and age, the survival rate is less than 5%. 5%. Robert closed his eyes. 2 weeks without treatment, or a 5% chance with surgery that could kill her immediately. "I need to think," he whispered. "Of course. Take your time. But Mr. Harrison, we can't wait much longer to make a decision." Robert walked back to Lily's room in a daze. Through the window he could see Rosa sitting beside Lily's bed, holding her hand while she slept. The sight of them together hit him harder than any business failure ever had. He realized that while he'd been focused on flying in experts and organizing global searches, Rosa had been taking care of the day-to-day needs that actually mattered to Lily. She knew that Lily liked her juice with extra ice. She remembered that Lily's favorite stuffed animal was a purple elephant named Peanut, and she'd brought it from home. She noticed when Lily was cold and adjusted the blankets before anyone else realized. That evening, Robert's business partner Kevin flew in from California. They'd built their company together, and Kevin was one of the few people Robert trusted completely. "How are you holding up?" Kevin asked as they sat in the hospital cafeteria. "I'm not," Robert admitted. "Kevin, what if I can't save her? What if all this money, all this power I've built up means nothing when it really matters?" Kevin was quiet for a moment. "You know what I've noticed these past few days? That woman, Rosa. She's been here every single day taking care of Lily like she's her own daughter. I know. I don't know what I would have done without her. Have you ever really talked to her? I mean, really talked to her, not just about work stuff?" Robert thought about it. In 3 years, their conversations had mostly been about schedules, grocery lists, and household tasks. He realized he didn't even know if Rosa had family of her own, where exactly she came from, or what her dreams were. "No, I haven't." "Maybe you should. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we see the least clearly." That night, Robert couldn't sleep. He walked the hospital halls thinking about Kevin's words. When he passed Lily's room around midnight, he was surprised to see Rosa still there. Even though visiting hours had ended long ago, she was sitting in the chair by Lily's bed, knitting something small and yellow. She looked up when she saw him. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I know it's late. The nurses said I could stay. Don't apologize." "I'm glad you're here." Robert sat down in the other chair. "What are you making?" "A small blanket. For when Lily gets better and goes home." Robert felt tears sting his eyes. Rosa's faith that Lily would recover was stronger than his own right now. "Rosa, can I ask you something?" She nodded. "Why are you doing all this? I mean, I'm grateful, more grateful than I can say, but you don't have to be here every day taking care of her like this." Rosa was quiet for a long moment, her knitting needle still clicking softly. "When I first came to work for your family, I was very sad. I had left everything I knew to come to America. I missed my family, my home, everything." She paused, looking at Lily's sleeping face. "But Lily, she made me smile every day. She would ask me about my country, about my family. She wanted to learn words in my language. She made me feel like I belonged somewhere again." Rosa's voice got softer. "She is not just your daughter to me, Mr. Harrison. She is like my own heart walking around outside my body." Robert had to wipe his eyes. Here was a woman who earned a fraction of what he spent on lunch, and she was giving everything she had to help save his daughter. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." As Rosa continued knitting Lily's recovery blanket, Robert made a silent promise that if they got through this, things would be different. He would pay attention to the people who really mattered, the ones who had been there all along. A week had passed since the doctors delivered their devastating news. Lily's condition was getting worse despite all the medical equipment keeping her stable. Her breathing was more difficult and she slept most of the day now. The cheerful little girl who used to fill the house with laughter could barely whisper. Robert had spent every waking moment coordinating the global search for a donor. His team had contacted blood banks in over 40 countries. Social media campaigns in 12 languages were spreading Lily's story across the world. Celebrity friends had shared her photo to millions of followers. The reward money had grown to $5 million, but none of it was working. Dr. Chen gathered the medical team for another update. "The news wasn't good. We've now tested over 200,000 people worldwide. We've had volunteers from every continent, including researchers in Antarctica who flew samples to blood banks for testing." Robert slumped in his chair. "And nothing? Nothing that's even close to compatible? I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison, but we need to seriously consider the surgical option." The surgical option meant a 5% chance of survival. Robert couldn't bring himself to authorize a procedure that would almost certainly kill his daughter. But doing nothing meant losing her for sure. Meanwhile, Rosa had been doing research of her own. Every night after leaving the hospital, she went home to her small apartment and spent hours on her old laptop, reading everything she could find about Lily's condition. The medical terms were difficult, but she was determined to understand what was happening to the little girl she loved. Rosa's English was good, but scientific language was challenging. She used translation websites to read research papers in her native Spanish, hoping to find something the doctors might have missed. She read about similar cases, experimental treatments in other countries, and anything that might help. What really interested Rosa were the articles about genetic factors and blood compatibility. She learned that certain genetic markers were more common in specific populations and family lines. Some articles mentioned that genetic traits could skip generations or appear in distant relatives. This made Rosa think about her own family history. Her grandmother had always said their family was special, that they had blessed blood that could help heal others. Rosa had dismissed it as old folklore, but now she wondered if there might be some truth to it. Her grandmother, Esperanza, had been known in their village as a healer. People would come to her when they were sick, and somehow many of them got better. The doctors in the nearest town had never understood it, but they knew that patients who visited Esperanza often recovered faster than expected. Esperanza had always told Rosa that their family carried something special in their blood, passed down from their ancestors. She said it was a gift that came with the responsibility to help others. Rosa had never paid much attention to these stories, thinking they were just her grandmother's way of making their poor family feel important. But now, reading about genetic markers and blood compatibility, Rosa began to wonder if her grandmother's stories might have a scientific basis. On Thursday morning, Rosa made a decision. She arrived at the hospital earlier than usual and asked to speak with Dr. Chen. The doctor was surprised to see her requesting a meeting, but he'd noticed how devoted she was to Lily and agreed to listen. "Doctor, I would like to be tested as a potential donor for Lily," Rosa said quietly. Dr. Chen looked puzzled. "Ms. Valdez, that's very generous of you, but we've already tested the entire household staff, remember? We tested you, James the gardener, Mrs. Chen the cook, and all the other employees on the first day." Rosa shook her head. "No, doctor. I was not here that day. I was at the immigration office renewing my work visa. By the time I got to the hospital, you had already taken blood from everyone else." Dr. Chen checked his records. She was right. In all the chaos of that first day, they had somehow missed testing Rosa. Of course, we can test you, but I don't want you to get your hopes up. The odds are still astronomical. I understand, Rosa said, but I have to try. Dr. Chen called for a nurse to draw Rosa's blood. As the needle went into her arm, Rosa closed her eyes and thought about her grandmother. If our family really does have special blood, Abuela, please let it help Lily. The blood sample was sent to the lab with urgent priority. Dr. Chen explained that they would have results within a few hours. Rosa went back to Lily's room, where Robert was reading her a story about a brave princess who saved her kingdom. Lily was barely awake, but she managed to smile when Rosa entered. Rosa, you're here early today, Lily whispered. I wanted to spend more time with you, pequeña princesa, Rosa said, using the Spanish nickname she'd given Lily years ago. Robert looked up from the book. Rosa just got tested as a potential donor. Lily's eyes widened slightly. Really? Could Rosa's blood help me get better? We don't know yet, sweetheart, Robert said carefully. But Rosa wanted to try. I hope so, Lily said. Rosa has the kindest blood in the world. The innocence of Lily's words brought tears to both adults' eyes. Children had such simple faith in the goodness of people they loved. The hours dragged by slowly. Robert tried to work on his laptop, but couldn't concentrate. Rosa organized Lily's gifts and cards for the 100th time. Lily slept fitfully. Her breathing labored despite the oxygen mask. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway. His face was unreadable, and Robert felt his heart stop. Could I see you outside, Mr. Harrison? Robert followed the doctor into the hallway, his legs feeling weak. Rosa stayed with Lily, holding her hand. Doctor, please just tell me quickly. Is Rosa compatible? Dr. Chen looked at his tablet, then back at Robert. Mr. Harrison, in 30 years of medicine, I have never seen anything like this. Robert's heart sank. So she's not compatible? No, you don't understand. Dr. Chen's voice was filled with amazement. She's not just compatible. She's a perfect match. I mean, absolutely perfect. Her blood contains every single genetic marker we need, in exactly the right combinations. It's like she was specifically designed to be Lily's donor. Robert couldn't process what he was hearing. Are you saying... I'm saying that Rosa can save your daughter's life. The lab ran the tests 3 times to make sure. There's no doubt. Rosa's blood is exactly what Lily needs. Robert felt his knees buckle. He leaned against the wall, overwhelmed by relief, gratitude, and disbelief. The woman who had been quietly caring for his family for 3 years, the woman he barely knew despite seeing her every day, was the miracle they had been desperately searching for across the entire world. How is this possible? Robert whispered. Honestly, I don't know. The genetic combinations Rosa carries are extraordinarily rare. The chances of finding them in a random person are less than 1 in 10 million. The chances of that person being someone already in Lily's life. Dr. Chen shook his head. Some people might call it fate. Robert thought about Rosa's quiet devotion to Lily, how she had been there every single day, how she had researched the condition on her own, how she had insisted on being tested when everyone else assumed it was hopeless. Does Rosa know? Robert asked. Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. But Mr. Harrison, there's something else we need to discuss. The procedure Rosa will need to undergo is not simple. It's not just a blood donation. Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. Because of Lily's condition and her small size, we'll need a significant amount of Rosa's blood cells over several weeks. The procedure is safe, but it will be physically demanding for Rosa. She'll need to undergo multiple sessions, and she'll likely feel very tired and weak for months afterward. I'll make sure she has the best care, the best doctors, whatever she needs. I know you will. But there's something else you should know. Rosa will need to stay in the hospital during the treatment process. And Mr. Harrison, she'll need to make this decision completely on her own. No pressure, no expectations. This has to be her choice. Robert nodded, though inside he was panicking. What if Rosa said no? What if she decided the risk was too great? They walked back to Lily's room together. Rosa looked up expectantly when they entered. Rosa, Dr. Chen said gently, we need to talk. Dr. Chen explained everything to Rosa in the hallway outside Lily's room. He told her about the perfect match, about what the treatment would involve, and about the risks she would face. Rosa listened quietly, asking careful questions about the procedure and what it would mean for Lily's recovery. The treatment process will take about 6 weeks, Dr. Chen explained. You'll need to undergo blood cell extraction twice a week. Each session will take about 4 hours. We'll be removing specific types of blood cells from your body and preparing them for transfusion into Lily. Will it hurt? Rosa asked. You'll feel tired and weak after each session. Some people experience dizziness, headaches, and flu-like symptoms. Your immune system will be suppressed, so you'll need to be very careful about getting sick. Rosa nodded. But Lily will get better? If everything goes according to plan, yes. The success rate for this treatment with a perfect donor match is about 90%. And if I don't do it? Dr. Chen's face grew somber. Without this treatment, Lily has less than a week left. Rosa was quiet for a long moment, looking through the window at Lily sleeping in her hospital bed. The little girl looked so fragile, so small among all the machines. I'll do it, Rosa said without hesitation. Rosa, you need to understand the risks to yourself. This procedure could affect your health for months, maybe longer. There's a small chance of permanent complications. Doctor, what kind of complications? Chronic fatigue, increased susceptibility to infections, possible anemia. In very rare cases, donors have experienced long-term immune system problems. Rosa looked at Lily again. She's 8 years old. She wants to be a scientist. She still believes in magic and thinks flowers have feelings. Rosa turned back to Dr. Chen. I'm 32. I've already lived my childhood. If I can give her the chance to live hers, then there's no choice to make. When they returned to Lily's room, Robert was sitting beside the bed, holding his daughter's hand. His eyes were red, and Rosa could tell he'd been crying. Lily, Rosa said softly, I have good news. Lily opened her tired eyes. What kind of good news? My blood can help make you better. The doctors are going to use it to fix what's wrong inside you. Lily's face lit up with the first real smile Rosa had seen from her in days. Really? Your blood can save me? Yes, pequeña princesa. We're going to make you healthy again. I knew it, Lily whispered. I told Daddy you had the kindest blood in the world. Robert couldn't speak. He just squeezed Rosa's hand, his eyes filled with tears of gratitude. The next morning, Rosa moved into a room next to Lily's. The hospital had set up a special area where she could stay during the treatment process. Robert had offered to pay for a luxury suite at the best hotel in the city, but Rosa insisted she wanted to be close to Lily. I want to be here when she wakes up scared, when she needs someone to read to her, when she just wants to talk, Rosa explained. Before the first treatment session, Dr. Chen sat down with both Rosa and Robert to go over the process one more time. Rosa, once we begin, you'll need to commit to the full 6 weeks. Stopping in the middle could be dangerous for both you and Lily. I understand. And Mr. Harrison, I need you to understand that Rosa is making an enormous sacrifice. The physical toll on her will be significant. Robert turned to Rosa. I want to give you something for doing this. Money, a house, anything you want. Name it, Rosa shook her head. Mr. Harrison, I don't want anything except for Lily to get well. Rosa, please. Let me do something. My daughter's life is worth everything I have. Your daughter's life is priceless, Rosa agreed. That's exactly why I cannot take money for saving it. Robert was frustrated by Rosa's refusal, but he was beginning to understand something about the woman who had worked in his house for 3 years. Rosa wasn't motivated by money or personal gain. She was motivated by love, pure and simple. The first treatment session was scheduled for Monday morning. Rosa arrived at the treatment center early, wearing the comfortable clothes the hospital had recommended. She looked nervous but determined. The procedure involved connecting Rosa to a machine that would filter her blood, removing the specific cells that Lily needed. It was similar to dialysis but more complex and demanding. How are you feeling? The technician asked as they prepared to begin. Ready, Rosa said simply. Dr. Chen started the machine and Rosa watched as her blood flowed through the tubes. She could see the machine separating different components of her blood, collecting the cells that would save Lily's life. After an hour, Rosa began to feel dizzy. After 2 hours, she was nauseated. By the end of the 4-hour session, she was exhausted and pale. That's normal, Dr. Chen assured her. Your body is adjusting to the process. While Rosa recovered from her first session, the medical team prepared her blood cells for transfusion into Lily. The process was delicate and had to be done immediately while the cells were fresh. Lily was both excited and nervous about receiving Rosa's blood. Will I feel different afterward? She asked her father. You'll feel stronger, Robert promised. Rosa's blood is going to help your body fight off the sickness. The transfusion took place that afternoon. Rosa, though weak from her morning session, insisted on being there. She sat beside Lily's bed, holding her hand as the life-saving blood flowed into the little girl's body. "Thank you, Rosa," Lily whispered. "Thank you for sharing your blood with me. Thank you for letting me help you, pequeña princesa." Over the following weeks, a routine developed. Rosa would have her treatment sessions on Monday and Thursday mornings. She would spend the afternoons recovering while staying close to Lily. Robert rearranged his entire schedule to be at the hospital as much as possible. By the second week, the results were already visible. Lily's breathing improved dramatically. She was able to sit up in bed without the oxygen mask. Her color returned, and she started asking for real food instead of just liquids. But Rosa was getting weaker with each session. The treatment was taking a significant toll on her body. She lost weight and dark circles appeared under her eyes. Sometimes she was so tired after a session that she couldn't stay awake to read to Lily. "Rosa, you look sick," Lily said one afternoon when Rosa seemed particularly exhausted. "I'm just a little tired, sweetheart. Don't worry about me, but I do worry. Are you getting sick because you're helping me?" Rosa chose her words carefully. Sometimes when we help people we love, it costs us something. But it's worth it because love is the most important thing in the world. Lily thought about this seriously. "When I grow up and become a scientist, I'm going to find a way to help people without anyone getting tired." "That sounds like a wonderful goal," Rosa said, smiling despite her exhaustion. Robert watched this exchange from the doorway, overwhelmed by the generosity and wisdom of both the woman and the child. Rosa was literally giving her life force to save his daughter, and she was doing it with grace and love. That evening, Robert sat with Rosa in her room while she rested. "Rosa, I've been thinking. After this is over, after Lily is well, I want you to take some time off. A long vacation, maybe go visit your family." "That sounds nice," Rosa said sleepily. "And I want to pay for your family to come visit you here. Your parents, your siblings, whoever you want to see." Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Harrison, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do. Rosa, what you're doing, there aren't words for it. You're saving my daughter's life with your own blood. You're the reason I'll still have a family. Lily is my family too," Rosa said simply. As the weeks continued, Robert began to see Rosa in a completely different light. He realized that while he had been focused on building an empire and accumulating wealth, Rosa had been building something far more valuable, a relationship based on pure love and care. He also began to understand that the most important things in life couldn't be bought or negotiated. They could only be freely given, the way Rosa was giving her strength to save his daughter. 6 weeks after Rosa's first treatment session, Dr. Chen delivered the news that Robert had been praying to hear. "Lily's latest tests show that the treatment has been completely successful," Dr. Chen announced with a wide smile. "Her immune system has stabilized, her lung function is normal, and there are no signs of the disease remaining in her body." Robert felt his knees go weak with relief. "Are you saying she's cured?" "I'm saying she's going to live a completely normal, healthy life. She can go home, go back to school, play with her friends, everything." Lily, who was now sitting up in bed coloring a picture, looked up with bright eyes. "Does this mean I can go home and see James's flowers?" "Yes, sweetheart," Robert said, tears streaming down his face. "You can go home." Rosa was in her room resting after her final treatment session. The 6 weeks had taken a tremendous toll on her body. She had lost 15 pounds and looked exhausted, but her eyes still sparkled with joy at Lily's recovery. "Rosa," Lily called out as soon as she saw her. "I'm all better. Dr. Chen says I can go home." "That's wonderful news, pequeña princesa," Rosa said, though her voice was weak. "And guess what? I want to have a big party in the garden when we get home. Will you help me plan it?" Rosa hesitated. She hadn't thought about what would happen after Lily recovered. In her mind, her job was to save the little girl's life. Now that Lily was healthy, Rosa assumed the family would want to return to their normal routine without the constant reminder of this difficult time. "We'll see, sweetheart. You should focus on getting stronger." That afternoon, while Lily napped, Robert found Rosa packing her few belongings in her hospital room. "Rosa, what are you doing?" "I'm getting ready to go home. Lily doesn't need me here anymore, and you'll want privacy with your family to celebrate." Robert stared at her in disbelief. "Rosa, what are you talking about? You're part of this family. Mr. Harrison, I was hired as your housekeeper. Lily is well now, so I should return to my regular duties. Your regular duties? Robert's voice rose slightly. Rosa, you just saved my daughter's life. You spent 6 weeks giving your own blood to cure her. You literally brought her back from death, and you think I want you to go back to cleaning floors? Rosa looked confused. I don't understand. Robert sat down heavily in the chair beside her bed. Rosa, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen to me. She nodded. For the past 3 years, you've been working in my house, and I barely noticed you. I knew your name, I knew you did good work, but I didn't really see you. I didn't know about your family, your dreams, your struggles, nothing. Robert's voice began to crack with emotion. These past 6 weeks, watching you sacrifice everything for Lily, I realized something terrible about myself. I've been so focused on business, on making money, on being successful, that I forgot to pay attention to the people who actually matter. Mr. Harrison, let me finish, please. Robert wiped his eyes. Rosa, you are the most selfless, loving, generous person I have ever met. You gave your health, your strength, your very blood to save my daughter. And when I tried to pay you, you refused. When I offered you anything you wanted, you said you just wanted Lily to be well. Rosa was quiet, listening. I've been thinking about this a lot. I have billions of dollars, but when my daughter was dying, all that money was useless. The person who saved her was the woman who earned the least money in my house. The woman I knew the least about turned out to be the most important person in our lives. Robert stood up and began pacing the small room. Rosa, I don't want you to go back to being just the housekeeper. I don't want to pretend these past 6 weeks didn't happen. I want you to be part of our family. Really part of it. I don't know what that means, Rosa said softly. It means I want to know about your family back home. It means I want to help you bring them here to visit, or help them in whatever way they need. It means when Lily has important moments in her life, I want you there not as an employee, but as someone who loves her. Robert pulled out an envelope from his jacket. Rosa, I've set up a trust fund for you. It's enough money so that you never have to worry about finances again. You can go to school if you want, start a business, travel, anything. But more than that, I want you to know that you have a home with us for as long as you want it. Rosa stared at the envelope, not taking it. Mr. Harrison, I can't accept this. Why not? Because I didn't save Lily for money. I saved her because I love her. Taking money would make it feel like a business transaction. Robert felt tears starting again. Rosa, this isn't payment for what you did. Nothing could ever repay what you did. This is me trying to take care of someone I care about, the way you took care of Lily. I still don't understand. Robert knelt down beside Rosa's bed. Rosa, you saved my daughter's life. But more than that, you taught me what really matters. You showed me that love and sacrifice are worth more than all the money in the world. You are not my employee anymore. You're family. For the first time since Robert had known her, Rosa began to cry. Not sad tears, but tears of overwhelming emotion and gratitude. I have never had anyone say I was family before, she whispered. Well, you do now. Lily loves you like a second mother. And I... Robert paused, struggling with words he'd never said before. I love you like a sister. The next day was discharge day. Lily was excited to finally leave the hospital and go home. She had made goodbye cards for all the nurses and doctors who had taken care of her. As they prepared to leave, Lily presented Rosa with a special card she had made. This is for you, Rosa, for saving my life. The card was covered in crayon drawings of rainbows, flowers, and 2 stick figures holding hands. Inside, in Lily's careful handwriting, it said, Thank you for giving me your blood so I could live. You are my hero and my best friend. I love you forever. From Lily. Rosa held the card against her chest, crying happy tears. The ride home was quiet but joyful. Lily sat between Robert and Rosa in the back seat, holding both their hands. When they pulled into the driveway of the house, James the gardener was waiting with Mrs. Chen and the other staff members. They had decorated the entrance with welcome home signs and balloons. Welcome home, little miss, James said, giving Lily a gentle hug. I've got some new flowers to show you. Mrs. Chen had prepared all of Lily's favorite foods for a celebration dinner. As they sat around the dining room table, the same table where Lily had collapsed 6 weeks ago, Robert looked around at the faces of the people who had become his real family. I want to say something, Robert announced, standing up with his glass of juice. 6 weeks ago, I thought I was going to lose the most important thing in my life. But instead I gained something I didn't even know I was missing. He looked at Rosa, who was helping Lily cut her food. I learned that the most valuable things can't be bought or sold. They can only be given freely from the heart. Rosa, you didn't just save Lily's life. You saved mine too. You taught me what it means to truly love someone. Robert raised his glass. To Rosa, who gave us the greatest gift possible. To family, not just by blood, but by choice and love. Everyone raised their glasses, including Lily, who proudly held up her cup of apple juice. Later that evening, as they sat in the garden watching Lily play with James among the flowers, Rosa turned to Robert. Mr. Harrison, can I ask you something? Of course. And Rosa, you can call me Robert. Robert, do you really mean it? About me being family? Robert looked at this remarkable woman who had sacrificed everything to save his daughter. Rosa, I have never meant anything more in my entire life. Then I have a request. Anything. I would like to bring my parents here to meet Lily. They have heard so much about her in my letters, and they want to thank her for giving me a reason to smile every day. Robert felt his throat tighten with emotion. Even now, Rosa was thinking about how to bring more love into their lives. Rosa, your parents are welcome here any time, for as long as they want to stay. This is your home now. As the sun set over the garden, Lily ran up to them, her cheeks rosy with health and happiness. Daddy, can Rosa tuck me in tonight? She knows the best bedtime stories. Of course, sweetheart. And Daddy? Yes? Tomorrow can we start planning the biggest thank you party ever for Rosa? She deserves the whole world. Robert looked at Rosa, who was smiling despite her exhaustion from the treatment. I think that's a perfect idea. Lily, Rosa deserves the whole world and more. That night, as Robert tucked Lily into her own bed in her own room for the first time in 6 weeks, she looked up at him with serious eyes. Daddy, I'm glad I got sick. What? Why would you say that, sweetheart? Because if I hadn't gotten sick, we never would have known how amazing Rosa is. And now she's our family forever. Robert kissed his daughter's forehead, marveling at the wisdom of children. You're absolutely right. Lily. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things. As Lily drifted off to sleep, healthy and safe in her own bed, Robert realized that his daughter was right. The crisis that had nearly destroyed their family had actually completed it. They had found something more valuable than all his business success combined. They had found true, unconditional love, and it had been there all along, quietly cleaning their house and caring for their family, waiting for them to notice what really mattered.